you're live. It's us again. Hello, us again. You should be in a blocker, which is fine. So what am I doing now? Netherlands versus France. We have all those games right here. Neat. I do have the little icon. That's good. Yeah, we should be good to go. I'll let people gather for just a moment, then we'll get started. What up, Gulrob? Ew, dwarves! Ew, dwarves! Ew, dwarves. Ew. Dwarf spotted. High-end play, taking aquatic trait units against the Dutch for any land battles. Is that because they don't have their dikes to save them? All right, for some reason my analytics aren't telling me how many people have arrived. I was gonna at least let like a decent part of the audience from the last stream get here, but I cannot wait forever. Yay, France, go, blue, white, red. Those aren't France colors, those are American colors, you idiot. I mean, sorry, Dutch colors, you fool. I mean, sorry, Russian colors, you dunce. I mean, sorry, British colors. Wait a second, why is everybody using red, white, and blue? Hold on. All right, we have 33 viewers, let's go. Let's get into it. No more waiting around, people are gonna leave. You all have the attention span of lemmings. Lemmings, I say. Boom, welcome back to the World Cup. In case you are joining us via VOD, video on demand, meaning you're in the future and I'm in the past and you're not catching us live. What are you doing? Catch us live, you ass. I mean, hi, welcome to the stream. Thanks for participating. Anyway, we just cast Hauptschweiz, which means go Switzerland, versus RTK's USA 3. Switzerland has secured themselves the first spot in the semifinals, but there's 3 spots left to go. We are here with XMT Netherlands versus ODM France. The XMT and ODM are just clan tags, meaning there are some people who don't live in France and the Netherlands, but they are a part of this clan and whatever and yada yada. People just wanted to play with their friends, and we're allowing that because the whole point is just to have a tournament where people play and have fun. So yeah, Netherlands versus France, you get it. Where's the bracket? There it is. Bam. Today we have a mix of conquest, domination, and land battles games. 5 people on each side. All 5 games will be cast no matter what the score is, even if it is 5-0 or 3-2 or 4-1 or anything. Casting all 5 games are played, all 5 games deserve to be cast. At the top, you see a symbol for Slaanesh and a symbol for Norska. That means both teams got 1 ban. That ban applies to both teams, meaning Slaanesh and Norska can be played by neither side all day today. Dutch Skink conferring Codex Frobane, Circia, and Felcon. Yes, that Felcon versus Flower, Alfredino, Anticity, Ash, and Loopy. Yes, that Anticity. Yes, that Alfredino. No, not that Flower. No, not that Ash. No, not that Loopy. They're frauds. They're all frauds, except for Alfredino and Anticity. Those are real ones. The rest, frauds. Cool. Cool. Let's get into it. Let's get started. Dutch Skink versus Flower. There we are. We're starting off with Dwarves versus Wood Elves. Dwarfs. Dutch Skink on the Dwarves versus Flower on the Wood Elves. Thanks, Jake. Yeah, things are going overall better. It's a slow process, but we're getting there. Anticity is French. He's a part of ODM, which is why they're ODM France. They have a lot of French players, and they supplemented with Anticity. All right, for the Wood Elves start, we have a Waystalker with Arrows of Kurnos. Then we have a Tempest and Soul Quench caster on a bird. We have Wildwood Rangers and War Dancers, a bunch of Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts and Hagbane Tips, more Glade Guard, more Wildwood Rangers on this side, and then we have some Vanguard Cavalry of Glade Riders and the Lost Sylvan Knights. On the other side for the Dwarves, a massive front line of Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors across the line. Looks like they just want to push forward with armor and shields. 2 Runesmiths I thought I saw in the build. One has Rune of Negation, the Hammer of Karak Draws, and the other one has the Hammer of Karak Draws. Do have a couple ranged units in the Grim Delvers, Ulthar Raiders, 2 Gyrocopters, both with Brimstone guns? No, a regular and a Brimstone gun, 1 Bolt Thrower, and then Malachi with deranged munitions as his only ability. Okay. Oh no, Iron Joe. Well, hopefully you can withstand the pain. Waystalker currently having a terrible time. Got swamped in Dwarf Warriors, and his melee stats are high, but his armor and his HP pools are low, so any hits the Dwarfs land does a lot of damage. You can see that now. As the Lost Sylvan Knights charge in, they are going to take a lot of damage. Despite their physical resistance, these are still some impressive guns from the Dwarves, as he loses about 1/3 of his HP on the charge. Ulthar's Raiders are turning, and now they use their Mark by Ulthar. I was kind of surprised they didn't use that earlier, though it doesn't really do that much versus the Lost Sylvan Knights. Apotheosis is down, but they've already lost half their HP despite that, as Malachi continues to fire in. But the Wood Elves are not giving up. They are continuing to commit. Tempest is down onto the Gyrocopters to slow them a bit so that the Spellweaver High Magic can catch up. Meanwhile, the other Gyrocopters need to keep firing in. Grim Delvers protected by their 80 armor and decent melee defense against the Glade Riders. Really, it's the Lost Sylvan Knights are the only ones that get damage out here. And they are doing well now that both ranged units are locked up. They're not taking nearly as much damage. The Dwarves are pushing forward. They still haven't captured the point, but they are just trying to pressure the Wood Elves back. It's kind of all they can do at the moment, though I'm kind of surprised the Wildwood Rangers and War Dancers don't want to just take the fight with them, but it seems like the Wood Elves are more than happy to play this out the long game. Another Apotheosis down for Lost Sylvan Knights as the Bolt Throwers continue to just shoot at what they can. They're firing at the Glade Guard currently, not getting that much damage out, but they're doing what they shall. Spellweaver High Magic is slowly getting poked down by Malachi. Meanwhile, the Gyrocopters are taking out the Glade Riders for the most part. The Lost Sylvan Knights are still hanging in there for now. Rune of Negation trying to protect Ulthar's Raiders. And the Bolt Throwers have just turned around. They've decided to try and shoot at the Lost Sylvan Knights, but artillery are very slow to turn and fire, and the Lost Sylvan Knights are quick to punish. Dwarven units are starting to rout, meaning the Glade Riders can chase them around. Even if the Glade Riders have difficulties dealing damage to Dwarven infantry, they can easily chase them. Lost Sylvan Knights seem to be in a bit of a quagmire currently. The Bolt Throwers, as Gotrek Starbreaker often tells me, the Bolt Throwers are very, very tanky because of the amount of models they have just blocking up the cavalry units. So Lost Sylvan Knights don't actually get that much damage out and do get pushed away. Now, the Wood Elves are up on damage value. I would, balance of power. Balance of power. Whatever, you get the point. I would definitely agree. The Dwarves have had a pretty rough start to this game. We've lost some Longbeards here and there where War Dancers and the Wild Rangers seem to have pounced upon them when they got overextended. The Wood Elves have been able to easily heal up the damage to Lost Sylvan Knights. And sure, they've mostly lost 2 Glade Riders, but they got really good trades with those cap units, so great start for the Wood Elves so far. Again, the Dwarves are under duress. The Glade Riders jump back onto the Bolt Throwers, trying to stop them from shooting for a bit. And again, man, any Dwarf that isn't grouped up is just getting picked off over here. We can see another Longbeard getting destroyed, but Lost Sylvan Knights recharging them, and then Glade Guard firing in. The 2 Gyrocopters, still a decent threat ammunition-wise, though one of them did just take a ton of damage from the Spellweaver of High Magic and gets pushed away. Tempest plus her high speed means she is good at hunting down those Gyrocopters, and the Dwarves continue to just get blended as the Wood Elves pull their lines apart and pounce on anybody that's out of position, whether you're a Gyrocopter or a Longbeard. As now archers fire in and Wild Rangers were trying to chase those Dwarf Warriors. Now they end up in a fight with the Longbeards, but I mean, it's still a fight they want to take, so they just need to refocus. Currently, they're not swinging. You can see they're still trying to chase. So they do need to start swinging back, and there they go. Now you'll see the Longbeards start to take significant damage now that they're actually fighting back. Wood Elves starting to push aggressively. No more kiting around for them. They want to seize the advantage and take hold of this game. Wild Rangers and War Dancers getting involved while the Glade Guard continue to kite around. They're trying to get side and back shots onto... Ha, I heard it. We all heard it. Anyway, they're trying to get side shots onto the Dwarf Warriors to get past their shields and do significantly more damage. Arrows of Kurnos come out onto the Dwarf Warriors, getting good damage down. Lost Sylvan Knights charge back in. We still have 1 Gyrocopter, and it's not the Brimstone gun, so it is actually the more effective Gyrocopter, but they're running low on ammunition. And of course, there are a decent amount of Wood Elf archers that have really high weapon strength and or armor piercing. So Gyrocopters do have to do some dodging. We can see they are trying to keep moving, keep dodging those shots, which they're largely successful at doing. A lot of arrows are missing, but the pressure is still pressure. Lost Sylvan Knights continue to charge around, continue to get healed up, and Malachi is just standing around shooting at what he can. He's been getting decent damage out this game. Not crazy, but decent. Gyrocopters, again, harassed by the Spell Weaver. Gives herself more speed with Loic's Blessing. 131 speed to the 85 of the Gyrocopters, really not letting them breathe at all. Dwarves are very behind on the balance of power. They currently have the capture point. I don't know if they can hold that capture point for 400 more seconds. That seems a little unlikely, as a lot of the Dwarven infantry are dead. The Gyrocopters seem to be in trouble, as yeah, now a Tempest is going to seal their fate. That should be enough to get them to rout, especially with the massive slow. They're down to 34 speed, meaning they can't dodge the archers very effectively. That'll be enough damage to push them off. Without the Gyrocopters, there's just no damage here, right? You have Malachi and 2 Runesmiths. That's pretty much all that's left in your build, and that's kind of tanky, but it's not a lot of damage, as the Waystalker is actually just beating Malachi's ass. Malachi is one of those characters, I know he has 0 armor, but like, I feel like he doesn't have 45 melee defense. It says he does, but I've had him get his ass kicked by like literally everyone. I don't know. His stats are super fraudulent. Army losses is coming quick for the Dwarves, and that'll leave just Malachi as the only unbreakable unit, and I expect the Dwarves will surrender. I don't expect they'll make us actually watch him die. Hey, Patrick. Hey, Lich. Lich, I pinged you, but I will not be streaming over you. I am going to take a break when you're streaming. Do not worry, sir. Will not be interfered with. Gyrocopters did okay. Everything else struggled a bit. For Flower, Lord did very well. Waystalker did very, very well. Wild Rangers did solidly. Archers, mostly pretty good. While Sylvan Knights did okay. Slayer's only working me. I know, I think you mean Mortal Empires, but me just sounds more intense. Always satisfying to see the villains lose. Damn, dude. Okay, why am I getting pinged? Is it tournaments? Is it Lich? Lich is pinging me. Shit. All right. All right, sorry. I had to rage at Lich. He pinged me. He pinged everyone to play in his tournament, which starts in about an hour. So if you feel like playing in a tournament in about an hour, go play in Lich's tournament in about an hour. Okay, let's do this. Perfect. Dutch Skink, Laos. Sorry, brother. Sorry. Flower, win. Nah, not perfect. Nah, not perfect. There we go. There we go. Yes. Now that is a check mark. Next up, Contrarian Codex versus Alfredino. Rip Codex. Rip Codex. Delete that one so I don't have to keep going past it. And then we have Codex versus Alfredino. Skaven versus Tomb Kings. A D tier shit garbage faction versus Skaven. Easy W for my boy Codex. Fuck you, Alfredino. You're washed and old. Idiot. Idiot! I actually think I'm older than Alfredino, but whatever. See, Joe, I was actually thinking of the Slayer in me, like, not in a sexual context, but like, the Slayer in me seeks death. Like, Ungram quotes that all the time. Like, the Slayer that is in your heart, the Slayer that you embody in your daily life. I thought you were, like, hyping up the Slayer. Like, Slayers suck, except for me. But yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to take it a sexual route, then sure, I don't judge. Slayers are kind of hot. Moving on. For the Skaven, we have 4 Rat Ogres, some Skaven Slaves, the Teeth Breakers, and Natty Boo Sharpshooters for some guns. We have a front line of Plague Monks, backed up by Eshin Triads, and then we have the Eshin Sorcerer with Brittle Bone and Warp Stars. Then a Master Assassin with Looming Dread, Rival-Eyed Talisman. On the other side, for the Tomb Kings. Oh yeah, there's some Night Runners too. Skeleton Horsemen, Skeleton Horse Archers, so a lot of light cavalry. And then we have Skeleton Chariots, Nahakar Horsemen, Skeleton Warriors, Cetra on his Sphinx to keep him a little tankier, plus provide terror. And then Chosen of the Gods and Carrion. He did bring Usurian's Incantation of Vengeance, which is not amazing versus the Skaven, but then again, the Tomb Kings honestly don't have a lot of spells on their Nahakar lore that is good versus the Skaven. Generally, Arkin is a better caster here, but then he's also much more vulnerable. So Settra's very tanky. This Skaven build is unique and interesting. I don't think it's bad. I do worry about it. I generally don't rate Triads versus the Tomb Kings. And I know I'm a Triad hater, but I'm coming around. But I still think they're bad against the Tomb Kings because their cavalry is either so dog shit you don't need Triads to kill them, or the stuff that is good enough to kill, like Settra, is also really good at just walking out of them. So yeah, I don't love that. I do like this. Brittle Bone, Looming Dread, and Suppressed lower Settra's speed to 7. He is pretty much netted from all this speed debuffing going on right now. Melee defense is 0 as the Master Assassin jumps on him, but it's really not about his melee prowess. It is more about the guns. But nice dive in from Alfredino. Carrion and the Chariots shutting down the shooting so that Settra being pretty much netted doesn't matter. He lost a big chunk of HP, but it wasn't enough to kill him. And now the main melee has started. Night Runners and Rat Ogres trying to peel off all the light cavalry, which they will be able to do, but the Skaven have already lost a lot of DPS in their Rattling Guns, and their Natty Boobos being taken out by those Chariots and Carrion. That's pretty brutal. Rat Ogres starting to rout from a couple places, but the fighting has been fast and furious. Both sides in the mobility game have taken a lot of damage very quickly. You can see the Chariots, the Carrion have already taken a lot of damage. I saw some Nekar Horsemen routing already, but Rat Ogres, a couple of them starting to rout, other ones doing more fine. We have Night Runners being run off the map, so it's a pretty crazy game so far. Skaven slightly ahead on the balance of power, probably mostly due to Settra losing half his HP already as the Master Assassin continues to hunt him down. We do see an Usurian's Incantation of Vengeance come down onto I don't even know what, but it's fine. Flag Monks really don't want to be fighting any cavalry. They want to be blending through the Tomb King's front line. And I do like Plague Monks in this matchup. I generally like Plague Monks rushing. And what happened here, Contrarian Codex might still win the game. I don't know. It's looking risky. I mean, he's losing on balance of power now. I don't love Plague Monks in a defensive mindset, because then the threats... Sorry, it's a Skaven game. I'm going to rant for a second. Well, hold on. Okay, we'll get through the game, then I'll do my little rant. We'll see what happens. The Chosen the Gods firing in. They are trying to hit a clump of Rat Ogres and Ashen Triads. The Ashen Triads are now stuck just fighting Skeleton Warriors because that's all there is to fight. Settra's holding back, and the Skirmish Cav or whatever are all fighting on the flanks where the Ashen Triads can't really get. Bounce power has shifted against the Skaven slightly. It is Conquest, though neither side captures the points. That's not really a factor as Warp Stars hit Settra the Imperishable. Yeah. It's solid. Tomb King's losing a couple units over here, though we're going to see how much it matters. The Skaven have a mass rout coming on. We're losing all the Plague Monks, we're losing the Eshin Triads, we're losing some Rat Ogres. Still, the Eshin Sorcerer is healthy, but his leadership is flagging already. You can see he's down to 28 leadership at full health. And the Master Assassin is trying to put the game on his back. If he can kill Settra officially, he can turn this game around, but he is also about to Terror Rout at like 2/3 HP. And the problem here is the health differential. Percentage-wise, he looked really good against Settra. I'm just going to blank this out for a second because I want to do something. Percentage HP-wise, he looked good on Settra, but Settra at like 1/3 HP still had 4,000 health, and that Skaven at 2/3 HP had 2,500 health, so he was actually pretty screwed. What up, Prime? I don't know why the screen is still black. It shouldn't be black for you, but it is. There we go. Okay, so I just wanted to restart the game just to look at the builds and discuss why I like Plague Monks versus Tomb Kings, but I don't like them in this specific build. And the problem is objectives. Plague Monks are great at slamming through Skeleton Warriors and blending the shit out of them. What I don't like about them in this build is the Skeleton Warriors literally don't matter in the game state. The entire game between the Skaven and the Tomb Kings, with the builds that are set up, is can Natty Booba Sharpshooters and the Teeth Breakers do enough damage to Settra and the Chosen of the Gods, essentially. And there's a lot of light cav and chariots, but you have Eshin Triads and Rat Ogres for that, so that's kind of a wash. The problem with this, and I don't like the strategy against the Tomb Kings in general, this isn't the type of build I take, is exactly what Alfredino did here. They have access to so many cheap Carrion, so many cheap cavalry, so many cheap chariot options that they are really good at getting onto Skaven weapons teams and shutting them down with massive damage. So when I like Plague Monks, I generally rush the Tomb Kings because then the objective isn't defending your troops, which when you're defending your troops, you don't care about the Skeleton Warriors, which is what the Plague Monks are going to kill. You need to defend your troop from Carrion, from Chariots, from Light Cav, which Plague Monks are useless against. This game doesn't, the Skeleton Warriors don't matter, and therefore the Plague Monks don't matter, which is why I don't like them here. But if you're rushing and your objective is to get onto the Chosen of the Gods, get onto Bone Giants, get onto Sepulchral Stalkers, then you need to get through the Skeleton front line, and then the Plague Monks matter. So that's what I like, because here it doesn't matter. What are the Plague Monks going to do? They're going to stop these slow-ass Skeleton Warriors, which is fine, but the damage is already getting done as the Carrion fly over. Skeleton Chariots could literally go right through them, and it is what it is. So generally my build, I like 3 Plague Monks, 4 Clan Rats as a pretty wide, aggressive front line that can actually get through the Tomb Kings decently. 4 Rat Ogres, 2 Doom Flayers, and then I usually like Skrulk, honestly. And you get aggressive on them because Bone Giants are tough. Or inversely, when I do shooting, I cut Plague Monks and I just go Clan Rats and Clan Rat Spear front line. And then I like double or triple Warp Lightning Cannon because Chariots and Carrion are really bad at killing Warp Lightning Cannons. They get stuck on the cannon models. They don't do that much damage. And you'll take some HP damage, but you won't lose damage capacity nearly as quickly. And Usirian's Incantation of Vengeance is shit against Warp Lightning Cannons. It doesn't matter. But then your Warp Lightning Cannons can still outshoot Bone Giants. They can still outshoot Ushabti. They can still pressure Cetra. They can pressure Chariots on the way in. So I generally think Warp Lightning Cannons are better in this matchup if you're going to shoot. And I think Plague Monks are better if you're going to rush. But I didn't like this combination of both weapons teams that are easier to shut down than artillery pieces and an aggressive front line when the front line fight didn't matter. So, yeah. It's a Skaven matchup. I have a lot of opinions, so I wanted to reload the game so I could talk about it while the builds were actually existing. Because you see, the Plague Monks are doing really well as we fast forward. They're holding, but what are they holding for at this point? Everything's dead, you know? So, it's tough. And again, if I took Warp Lightning Cannons, you might be like, well, then you have to defend them. Yeah, defend them with Clan Rats, because it doesn't matter. You need more money. You need more money to protect the flanks. So go Clan Rats instead of Plague Monks. Boom, opinions over. I'm done having opinions. Plague Monks, I mean, they blended up a bunch of skeletons. They got decent value. It just wasn't value that was important for the outcome of the game. Triads did fine, again, value-wise, but Natty Boobos and the Teethbreakers are getting shut down. Teethbreakers actually almost paid for themselves in that one burst, which is generally what they do. They're a shotgun unit, but Natty Boobos had a tough time. Rafadino, Cetra got damaged pretty heavily early, so he couldn't impact the game as much as he wanted, but he used the rest of his army very effectively. Just chucking bodies at the Skaven. You can see the Chariots got a lot of value. Skirmish Cav ran around for a while. Chosen of the Gods didn't get to do that much either. It was really a game about his light Cav. Have you considered making individual videos for the double Carnosaur match last stream or the Tomb King's Mirror where one guy summoned only infantry Zakinator? I hadn't. Do you mean just clipping them out or like recasting them? Also, somebody with the name Killed by Propaganda telling me that Human Boy is right. I feel like that might be propaganda. All right, we get another swirly-do for the French. And we get an X from my boy Contrarian. I love my boy Contrarian. Contrarian was a cool build, and I do really like the Master Assassin, like, super net technology you used with the slow and the slow and the slow netting, etc. I think that's good, and I think that can be good in certain matchups. I'm not trying to say your build is bad. I just think I mean, you saw what happened, where it's like, I think the Tomb Kings are really strong against that style of play. But I think that could be really good. I'm intrigued about that type of build versus Lizardmen. I think that could be really cool versus Lizardmen, because Lizardmen's cavalry options are much slower. So I feel like your defenses would have been fine against the Lizardmen. And then your net thing would be super good against either a Dreadsaurian, which they love to use, or Mazda, or a Nakai, or really any of the popular Lizardmen options would be really good. And you still had decent anti-air. Teethbreakers are good anti-air. Natty Boobas are good anti-air. So actually, like, I would literally copy-paste your build and try it against Lizardmen and see what happens. I'd be very curious. Plague Monks, I might leave them in and just see how they can do it blending skinks. I'm curious, because the Lizardmen airborne options aren't nearly as cheap. They don't have chariots. So, yeah. If you feel like it, take down the Lizardmen and see what happens. I'd be very, very curious. But no, the Tomb Kings just have too much cheap shit. You can't stop it all with that kind of build. It's brutal. Fucking brutal, son. Okay, let's get back to the boring non-Skaven matchups. So we have Rebane versus Inticity. Tzeentch versus Kislev. And for the Netherlands to stay in this, they got a reverse sweep. Can Rebane beat Inticity? One of the most intimidating and brutal domination players I've ever experienced. Now, I know, like, people tell me, like, Danikentrop is better, like, wins more tournaments and stuff, and, like, Pope Patty is a fucking legend on Britannia. But I don't know, man. Inticity streams, Inticity results, I feel like it's more oppressive. I feel like when Inticity wins, you're just hopeless. Like, you never had a chance in the game at all. I don't know. He is the player I would least want to play on domination. And I'm not trying to say he's a dick. I'm not trying to say that. Inticity's a fine person as a person. But when I watch him play, I'm like, nah, I just FF. I would just surrender immediately, bro. He would kick my ass. Like, I had a fun game with Danny. Danny and I had a great game in our series, Visegrad versus my USA team. But I don't know. I feel like Inticity would just run me around the map, and I'd get so frustrated. I'd be like, I didn't get to touch anything. He just ran away. And we can see it here. I mean, this is the type of Inticity build, man, that I just can't hang with. 3 Griffin Legion, 3 Wing Lancers, and Mother Ostankia. And he is going to probably do the Inticity thing where he does as much damage as possible without summoning any infantry for quite a while and just try and bleed you out and then take all the points and, like, wreck you. So against that, we have Rebane's Tzeentch. We have Marauder Horsemen of Tzeentch, a bunch of Blue Horrors, Spearmen, Forsaken, so a lot of infantry. And then the Changeling turning into the Green Knight to be super tanky. That could actually be a huge problem because Inticity doesn't have Death Frost. If he brought, like, a Frost Witch or whatever, like Ice Witch of Frost, and just Death Frosted the Changeling, that could be pretty brutal. But with this actual specific build, very low magic damage, very low threat onto the Green Knight. So the cavalry are going to charge in, and Rebane is hoping to just withstand. He's not going to be able to outdamage Kislev with all cavalry versus all infantry, but he is going to just put bodies on 2 points and dare Inticity to cycle charge him enough to make this matter. And I actually really like this. The Changeling's Green Knight is going to slow whatever cavalry he hits, and that'll make it harder for them to cycle charge in and out, but it also just buys time, and time is huge versus Tzeentch in cycle charges, because the longer it takes Kislev to reset up their cycle charges, the more barriers Tzeentch will rebuild as a nice Spirit Bear shot comes down onto these guys. But with their barriers rebuilding, it's kind of like your whole army has soft regen, and again, when his objective is just to eat damage but hold points, slowing down the damage in any format is huge. His infantry are retreating, but he is really hoping his infantry retreat back into his safe zone where they can rally and come back to the point and just eat more charges. But you can see the Marauder Spears and Forsaken that have barriers are moving themselves to the front, while the units that took all the damage in the last charge are staying back, where they just want to get barriers back. They want to get leadership back, and he wants to hold the points. And already we're actually, you know, tickets are ticking up quickly. He captured the first 2 points very quickly. He's stopping Inticity from taking the 3rd point either, so... And Rebane's actually pushing. This is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. And I'm not trying to say that in like the passive aggressive way. I literally don't know what to feel. Is it better to hang back and try and get more barriers? Or is it better to push the cavalry into their own zone to make them take longer to get the distance they want to recharge you? But in the meantime, you also have less time to get your barriers back. I don't know which is better. Both seem fine. Blue Horrors are firing into the Wing Lancers, and Inticity's actually taking a lot of damage. Probably a lot more than he wanted to, considering the type of build he started out with. Like, he doesn't have the damage value lead he probably wants. He has a lead, but he wants more of one. Because he has such little map pressure, and it's going to take him so long to summon real infantry to capture points that he needs a big damage value lead to be able to take points. If he's going to take points with cavalry, he needs to heavily outnumber the infantry. Here we're getting some good demonic instability as these Blue Horrors are having real difficulty holding on for now. But I do wonder about this for Rebane. Nice Centaur of Tzeentch summon, good anti-cavalry piece, though it has incredibly low melee attacks, so it's gonna have to get good charges, whatever. The Changeling in Green Knight form doesn't have spells. So Tzeentch isn't casting any spells, meaning they're getting 0 army abilities. So there's a lot of their army's power budget that is just flat out not getting used. As Kislev has captured point 3, And they've also captured point 2. Now Inticity is starting to get that lead. That's the lead he's wanted, and he's had difficulties manifesting it until now. So now he has like a 2,500 lead, and he's starting to get real battlefield presence. So you can see that now we're at about 1-to-1, maybe even 1.5-to-1 cavalry to infantry, and that's when cavalry can start over capturing infantry. Infantry have generally better capture weight, but if you just have so many more cavalry than infantry, you'll still take that point eventually. So this is what Inticity wanted to do. Yeah, that damage value lead keeps increasing, and you can see it. It's not even just a fake ass number that's not real. You can see a lot more routing units. You see blue horrors have disintegrated away. You just see a lot of red flags. Not red flags like you're on a weird date, like red flags like the color red. Also, Contrarian donated while I was busy rambling. Thanks for streaming the effort, man. Time to get back to the drawing board. Skaven's the last tier. Yeah, Skaven are still strong for sure. Tzeentch without spells is kind of wild. It is, yeah. It is a bit strange. So the Changeling Green Knight is fighting against double Snow Leopard right now. Without magic attacks, they're not going to do that much damage to him, but damage is still damage. They're anti-large, armor piercing. I mean, he doesn't have armor, but you get the point. They will whittle him down slowly. We can see when he chops back hard. Robane is trying to take capture point 3. A half-health skirmish cav is fighting with a roughly 1/3 health Zongor, but the Zongor is overall out-capping him. Robane still has a lead on the points. He still is holding point 1 for now, and the Green Knight is proving to be a good center bulwark as he's starting to terror off some of these kislev units. And Inticity is attritioning out slightly. And here come the infantry. So now comes the infantry spawning. He thinks he's gotten enough, and I don't disagree. He thinks he's gotten enough battlefield control and enough damage value lead with his cavalry that now he can start summoning some infantry and just putting them on the points and forcing Tzeentch to try and retake space while these cavalry just charge through anything he summons in. But the cavalry have attritioned out pretty bad. Robane stopped the bleeding. At one point, I think he was 3k down. Now he's only 2k down. So he stopped the bleeding. He's still running around with the Green Knight Changeling. I really do wonder, does he have a hero caster he's going to summon who casts some spells? Or is the Changeling planning to switch at some point? But he's probably got like 70 winds of magic piled up by now. We're 6.5 minutes into a game and he hasn't cast a single spell. Probably got 70 winds of magic piled up. Could get some very effective spells out. And then he could get Tzeentch army abilities, like the tier 3 army ability to just like nuke the infantry Inticity is summoning in. I don't know. But not using the Tzeentch army ability at all is wild. And I really hope he has a plan for that. Because what you could do, this is not a meme, what you could do is summon in those 2 bastards. What are they called? Why can't I think of their name right now? The Blue Scribes. He could summon in the Blue Scribes late with a shit ton of winds of magic and just pump spells. Because if you have like 90 winds of magic built up when they show up, their cooldowns will be crazy low because their spells keep switching all the time, right? That could be a real play. I hope that's part of his plan, because if his plan is just not to cast spells, and that's not going to fucking work, you're going to lose this game. Spells are too important in general, and they're way too important to Tzeentch to not cast them at all. Inticity / Kislev still maintaining a double capture. They still have point 2 for now, though that is looking tenuous. They still have point 3, which is looking very locked down. Tzeentch has point 1 quite handily. Inticity does have some armored Kossars in here to add a little bit of capture weight, but we'll see. Tzeentch could summon Zongors or something to push him off. Points are similar. Inticity is back up to that 3,000-ish damage value lead, though he is about to lose point 2, which is a little concerning. Now we're getting to the point in the game about halfway up on the capture points. Not halfway. So we're getting there, but not quite yet, where Inticity really has to focus on taking points rather than taking damage. Because at some point, damage stops mattering. And we're not there yet. I'd say around 900 tickets if Inticity still can't get on the points, and that's really concerning. I don't think we're there. I definitely think Inticity is favored right now, just to put my cards on the table. I think Tzeentch is really struggling to maintain their battlefield control, but, you know, if we get to 900 and the game state is still this, then I think that's pretty good for Tzeentch. You can see this is more of what I was worried about, is now the armored Kossars are going to get to the point. We have 2 armored Kossars. It's going to take a while for Tzeentch to get 2 full health infantry here to stop that amount of capture weight. And meanwhile, they're still trying to hold point 2, which they're currently doing pretty well, but it's tenuous at best. They're losing the Green Knight, who has tanked up a lot of damage value and time from the Kislevites, but once he's dead, that also means the Snow Leopards and Mother Ostankia can stop hunting him down. So that's pretty brutal. Changeling is dead in 3, 2, already dead. Our Lord has died, oh shit. Tzeentch does not have a lot of income left. It's not like they're saving up a bunch for infantry to show up. Anticity has taken 0.1. Anticity still holds 0.3, and he's maybe going to take 0.2, which is probably going to be GG. Because Mother Ostankia, and we still have some decent health. Not amazing, but decent health Griffin Legion. Ready to charge any infantry that come out of those points. So either it's like, okay, if you're Robane, do you summon mass that can counter the Griffin Legion, like not just get run over for free? Or do you summon infantry, which are then going to get cycle charged? It's like, okay, do I get capture weight out or do I get damage out? And this is the end game of what Anticity was setting up, because this is the advantage of damage. And this sounds obvious, but whatever, right? Like, damage doesn't matter for capturing the points. Damage matters later for battlefield control. So then you get to this point where it's a catch-22, because you're so behind in units on the field, where it's like, okay, do I summon units to take points, in which case they're going to get cycle charged and murdered before they even get to the points? Or do I summon mass to peel the cavalry, in which case that mass has no capture weight and I still can't capture the points? So that was what Anticity was setting up, and then in the end it was just kind of checkmate. Like, there's nothing Tzeentch could do from that point. They can't retake the points and stop the cav. They're just too far behind in damage. But we saw a different game on the opposite side where that sounds obvious. We saw, I think it was Chimbom, but no, he didn't play. Who was it? Fuck. I'm going to forget, but there was a different domination game earlier in the tournament where someone was behind 3k damage value, but the game got super, super close because it took Britannia, who was ahead on damage, so long to retake the points that they needed a triple cap at one point. And it came down to 1 or 2 ticks of points. Like, if Slaanesh had been able to hold on to 2 points for 1 or 2 ticks longer, they would have won the game, but they didn't. And that's the opposite end, where, like, Britannia was doing roughly what Anticity was doing, right? Heavy cavalry start, good single entity start, Hippogriff Knights, all that shit, and you get way up on damage value. You get so far behind in ticking the points that it's like, okay, yes, my army is fucking attritioned out, but if I can die slowly enough, I'll still win on points. And that game came super close to that. So Anticity executed it masterfully here, but it's not like, yeah, idiot, just more damage equals win. It's like, domination's a little more complicated than that. Scav got good value. Armored Kossars summoned in pretty late, not going to get a lot of value there. Horse Archers also did pretty well. No Little Grom. Aside for Robane, his Changeling got good value. Obviously didn't cast any spells, but I talked that to death, so you don't really need me to keep ranting about it. Yeah, and he didn't have a caster in his reinforcement, so he was just going no caster, balls the walls. Which is a Chad move, but questionable. What up, Bertelius? Hope your physical therapy was good. All right, take you over to the desktop. Here's that thing. And then I'm going to write down a note of what that person was telling me to do. Because it's a good idea, clipping out those games. And 2 Carnosaurs first time clip. Yeah, okay. I'll go look at them, see if they're worth clipping out. So Anticity is going to secure the win for France, so we'll see them in the semifinals, but we have 2 more games to cast. Let's see, we did a squiggly check, we did a swirly do. Let's give Anticity a little smiley face. Good job, Anticity. Next up is Cercia versus Ash. In our second domination game. So I'm looking at the Changeling now, just for people who are curious. He did have blue fire and pink fire, but he can't cast them as the Green Knight. So he had them, but he would have had to transform back, which seemed incredibly dangerous. All right, next up, Ash versus Cercia, which labels himself as Nerexa in game. Wood Elves, Beastmen. A tale as old as time. I'm now effectively discharged from physical therapy, so it's going well. Good. Good. Love that for you. We love that. Alrighty. For the Wood Elf starting lineup, a very wide start of a bunch of Glade Guard, and then we have some Eternal Guard here and there, a couple Dryads, and an Ancient Tree Man. Not Durthu, so he's not quite the World Beater. He's a little cheaper, but he does bring life magic. On the other side, for Ash and the Beastmen, what do we start with? Also pretty damn wide. Zongors and Ungor Spearman Herds. Zongors here for their magic damage against the Dryads' physical resistance. Ungor Raiders to pincushion Durthu. Or, I guess, Tree Man. A Chimera and Malagor Dark Omen with Flock of Doom. Okay. Sip my beverage. Let's do this. Chimera flying over. Needs to be a little careful not to just get pincushion for free, but generally quite tanky to those missiles with a little bit of missile resistance, decent armor, but also just a Manticore profile. Manticores and anything that are this kind of clumped and compact, you can see it's pretty hard for the arrows to hit them. Unlike dragons that are clunky and huge, arrows can generally hit them pretty good. Manticore body types are just so small, like eagles, right? Eagles are also pretty hard to hit with shots. Why did I click over onto that? I didn't want to click that. Oopsies. Ungor Spearman Herds, white line camping, reported. Reported, unfriended, unsubscribed on MySpace. American outgoof everybody else while attempting to speak other languages. That is ridiculous. I have a beautiful French accent. Beautiful. I will not do it now, though, because I feel under pressure. Zongor is running through the weird pink rave lights of Slaanesh, I guess, to fight Dryads. Yes, I know they're Cathay lights, but I mean, that is some pink light. That's some pink light, brother. Beastmen making a heavy push onto the top side. Looks like they want to just take point 2. And they are going for a full court press. They just want to push the Wood Elves entirely off of all points. And I guess that's smart. I mean, yeah, Beastmen are generally aggressive, mostly melee faction. They're going to summon in Centaurs for a while that are so fast they can easily get to the front line, so they don't have to worry about overextending their supply lines. And it's like, wait, are reinforcements going to be able to get here? The answer is yes, they'll get here. Chimera is still struggling to find much value currently and is now forgotten right in front of the archers. It's at close enough range that actually is taking significant damage. It's now starting to fall back. Wild Hunters of Kurnos getting decent damage down on the Tuskor Chariots when they can catch them, but really don't want to fight Zongors and random Ungor Spearman Herds. It's not for them. As the Beastmen are just chucking their bodies into the Wood Elf blender, you can see the Wood Elves are winning on damage value, but overall their lines are getting pushed back and back and back towards their own spawn, which could be good, it could be problematic. It depends. Because if you're going to summon War Dancers, your lines getting pushed back close to your spawn is great, because that's less time for the Beastmen to react to you spawning them, less time for them to pull back expensive infantry, less time for them to charge Centaurs over here, less time for them to get archers in position, so that is good. It is problematic if you wanted to summon more archers or more cavalry, because then they feel a little boxed in. So it depends on what the Wood Elves were hoping to do. But if they do have a bunch of reserved War Dancers and Blade Singers and things like that, this could actually be a bit of a trap, and the Beastmen are now lured into a bad situation. Wild Hunters of Kurnos are exploding onto the back line of the Beastmen, already shouting Ungor Raider, and now they're trying to hunt down Tuskor Chariots, but they will get countercharged by Centaurs. It seems like this was a bit of a trap. And that is a very expensive cavalry unit that's already decently damaged, so if it gets taken out, that'll be a big value trade up for Ash, but Ash is falling behind Orexia a lot of damage value, and that's going to get concerning. Beastmen have taken a lot of battlefield space, but unlike the Tzeentch versus Kislev game, they're having a much harder time holding it. Whereas Robane kept Anticity off the points for quite a while. I think it was like 6 minutes until Anticity really got back in the game. Capture point wise, this spot hasn't been taken at all. The Wood Elves never technically lost point 2, and you can see they're already punching out of their own spawn. The Beastmen are already like attritioning out pretty damn bad. Their archers are having a hard time getting a lot of value, and the Eternal Guard have actually pushed through to certain areas. The Ancient Tree Man is continuing to run around and cause some rampage, some terror, not rampage. That'd be OP. Anybody who sees the Tree Man just instantly fucking rampages, noob. So this is tough. Like, the Beastmen are just kind of losing everywhere. They're losing in the enemy's area, so they've taken a lot of space, but they're not like getting much damage out. And this doesn't even pass the eye test. Like, you look around, the Wood Elf health bars just look higher. There are more green health bars that are healthier than the red health bars, so you don't even need the damage value to tell you that. Glade Guard get charged by the Sons of Goros. Pretty good damage in there. Wonder if the Wood Elves have a counter charge. They do, as more Wild Riders are summoned out. Go charging back in. The Sons of Goros briefly try and leave, decide they're not going to make it as a Chimera Breath Attack comes down, does a lot of damage to the Wild Riders and the Glade Guards. That ended up being a beautiful little combo. Maybe not enough to save the Sons of Goros, though. The Chimera jumps in. Does its terror do the job? Yes, it does. The Sons of Goros are already retreating, but still, really good play there from Ash. Really, really good stuff. That was beautiful. That was like 1,200 value wiped off the board for the Wood Elves in one fell swoop. Gorgeous. So Ash is starting to come back on gold damage value. That's going pretty well now that Centaurs are in. Centaurs are the real breadwinners of the Beastmen, despite several nerfs. Still very, very good units. Shield of Thorns is down on the Glade Guard, just trying to be a nuisance for the Centaurs that are trying to get through them. As the Ancient Treeman waddles over, he will provide terror, maybe routing those Centaurs. Earthblood even really wants to heal up these specific Glade Guard, as other Glade Guard are holding steady for now. Wild Riders summoned in. Beastmen de-summoning some units in the background I saw. Decent amount of de-summoning going on around the map, and the Wild Riders are actually not going to help this Ancient Treeman situation, just relying on his terror to take care of it. They instead are going after the Chariots, trying to stop them from interfering with their plans any longer. Are they going after the super wounded Chariot or the healthy one, I wonder? I don't know. Doesn't look like it matters, as the Centaur charge is going to come back in, and really good Beastmen Chariot and Cavalry play is getting them back in this game. The gold damage value has drastically shrunk. Drastically shrunk. Wood Elves still up on capture points. They did eventually take that point 3. They never lost control of point 2. The Beastmen obviously haven't lost control of point 1 either, though, as War Dancers are trying to get over to Ungor Raiders. Dryads are trying to fight back against Centaurs. But again, Ash is making a ton of great plays and making a lot of comeback in damage value based off of his mobility play. He's now tied up. But that does sacrifice infantry, meaning you don't have a lot of capture weight. So these Dryads and Eternal Guard are holding back Centaurs, but it's really Centaurs as far as the eye can see for the Beastmen. Not a lot of infantry to take these points. Now for the Wood Elves, the eye test is also coming back in, though. They also just don't have a lot, period. They don't have a lot of infantry, but they don't have a lot of anything else. Because the big thing is the Ancient Treeman. The Ancient Treeman is more expensive than Malagor, and he's full health. So that's where a lot of their money is. And the Beastmen are much more spread out, so they're going to have a lot more battlefield space. The Treeman, wherever he goes, is going to kick a ton of ass and win, but he can only be so many places. As Dryads and Eternal Guard are summoned in to try and stop the Beastmen. Beastmen slightly pulling ahead in damage value. Still ahead in battlefield presence. The mid-game was looking a bit rough. I guess we're still in the mid-game. Domination games are a little longer than my mental map is, but in the early game, Beastmen took a ton of space. Yeah, and he's actually just going to give up. I don't necessarily disagree. That was wild, though. Early game, Beastmen took a ton of space. Mid-game, Wood Elves did a lot of damage and pushed the Beastmen back. And then what turned out to be the late game, Beastmen mobility with really good plays, beautiful breath attacks from the Chimera, all that stuff just got so much damage value out and wiped so much off the map that, like, all you had left was a super healthy tree man, but he couldn't do shit about it. He was just there. Like, yeah, I'm full health, but what the fuck can I do? Yeah, only 100 value on him. It's different than Durthu. Durthu's Sword of Daith and Flock of Doom do incredible damage, while the Tree Man is cheaper, tankier, but also has life magic instead. And it just wasn't as impactful as Durthu can be. Yeah. Chimera, decent value. Centaurs spawned in. Why do those Centaurs have shield bars? I don't know. I don't know. Post-game bugs, I guess. That was a seesaw of a game. One side was up, then the other side was up, then one side was up, and it was over. All right. Oh, why is that way? Why is this transparent now? What the hell? That's weird. I don't like that. Why are you all blendy? Hardness is 100%. What the what? Its opacity is fucked up, but why? Why? Ah! It's like permanent. What the fuck? Uh-oh, I did it to the global band too. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna fix it with Control Z. Z. Yep, now it's fixed. I don't know what setting that was, but it was messed up. Oh no, we're not doing basic check marks for Ash. Ash gets a thumbs up. Yep, there's all the fingers. Yeah, thumb up. Beautiful. I assign an X for Cercia. Can Netherlands' honor be restored by Falcon? At least make it a 1-4. Or will the French clean sweep? Find out, I guess, right now on Dragon Ball Z. Land battle. Falcon versus Lupi. Dark Elves versus Dark Elves. So many Dark Elves. So many. Let's see. Marathi versus a generic caster. Marathi has Soul Stealer, Melkoths, and then her Bound Wand of Krydon, Double Scourge on her Chariot, a front line of Witch Elves and Bleak Swords, backed up by Cold One Knights and Dark Riders. For Falcon, we have Dark Riders, Dark Rider Repeater Crossbows, Bleak Sword front line with a couple Witch Elves, Cold One Knights, and a Cold One Chariot, and the Supreme Sorceress of Dark with Soul Stealer on a Dragon. That's weird. It feels like Falcon just has more money, but I think it's because there's 4 Cold One Knights, which is 4,000 gold versus 3, so there's an extra 1,000 gold, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. Lupi gets some decent damage on Dark Rider Peter Crossbows with a Melkoths and a charge, though Falcon is trying to peel for them with other Dark Riders and Cold One Knights, and that Dark Rider of Lupi is going to get massacred. But on the other side, a Dark Rider of Falcon is going to get murdered by Cold One Knights, so Dark Rider for Dark Rider trade. Pretty even. Witch Elves on the front line knocked out for Lupi. Falcon's Cold One Chariots are currently getting murked. I'm shocked that the Cold One Chariots aren't very good, but we'll see. Falcon's front line overall seems to be winning. His flanks are doing okay for now, as one Cold One is getting butchered. Holy shit, that thing's taking a lot of damage. So yeah, Falcon's winning that top side. He's winning the front line fight. This is honestly pretty rough for the Reds already. Balance of Power doesn't show it yet, but I'm getting very concerned for Lupi's chances this early on. Marathi is fine. She needs to get involved because the Dragon Lord of Falcon has gotten in there and done some terror and done some stuff while Marathi's just kind of chilling, and that is probably a big difference in their results. Soul Stealer down from Marathi. Or is it? What is that? Yeah, it is a Soul Stealer. Oh, it's Falcon's Soul Stealer. Gotcha. It's onto some Cold Knights. I see. So Falcon's got pretty good battlefield presence. For the red side, like, Lupi has a healthy Cold One Knight, 2 Scourge Runners, and Marathi. He also has some Dark Riders over there, but he's gonna have to leverage those into a win. I know the balance of power isn't that against it. Just looking around, I'm already very concerned for the red Dark Elves, though. Falcon's Repeater Crossbows are resetting up, just trying to get safe while they finish off this Cold One Knight that's desperately chasing them. They're just trying to reform lines and get a skirmish core more together. The Cold One Knights get peeled. Front line still winning. Lupi is trying to clean up the remnants. Both front lines took a ton of damage in the first engagement, though, so it's not like Falcon can rely on his front line to win the game. He is going to have to use those skirmish cab very effectively to win. That's most of his damage potential left. All for Lupi. Marathi's got to make some sick plays somewhere. She's got to get more done, and his Cold One Knights have to win out, but it's looking rough for them. They're outnumbered and outmatched. Because Falcon has another half-health Cold One Knight, a 2/3 health Cold One Knight in the distance. Lupi has just this 1/3 health one. And a Soul Stealer is down from Lupi onto that big central blob. So Marathi getting good value there, but like, yeah, she's got to find melee fights. It's weird and awkward because it's Marathi. She's not on a dragon, but unfortunately, she still costs almost as much as a dragon, so you got to get in there. Her just being this passive lord is just not working out, in my opinion. Like, she's full health and she's safe, but her army is losing on the ground without her. Wand of Krydon is down onto the Supreme Sorceress of Dark. It's going to do some decent damage. Ooh, Falcon dodged it on a dragon. Okay. People are arguing about what is or is not scary in the chat. I think all of this is scary. I think everything in the world is scary. I am scared of everything. Falcon's trying to pick off random elements of Lupi's. He's not going too hard after the Scourge Runner Chariots, just realizing that they're kiting him intentionally, so he's getting what value he can, and he's waiting for the Scourge Runners to just run out of ammunition, it seems. And then he'll still have repeater crossbows to shoot them in the late game, which he's already starting to do. Because now they're cutting away from the Cold Knights. You can see they're just going to shoot the Cold Knights that are chasing them in the face. This is why Falcon didn't want to do it earlier. But now he's using his Cold Knights' bodies just to block, while the Dark Rider repeater crossbows, who have... well, they don't have firewall moving. I thought they were just going to shoot the Cold One, the Scourge Run Chariots while they're running away, but it seems like that's not going to happen. Loopy is kiting. It's all he has left to do. Really depleted. Dark Riders catch up to the Scourge Runner Chariots for now. Soul Stealer onto the Chariots. So that's to heal Felcon's Lord while also doing damage to one of Loopy's 3 last units. Loopy did a good job getting Marathi out of the circle. And now Soul Stealer doesn't apply again. So she can fly in the circle now and not be in trouble. But originally she had to be out of it. Scourge Runners are getting run down. Loopy down to 1 Scourge Runner with only 3 volleys left and Marathi. Marathi throws out a quick Melkoth's, but I don't know how she's going to be able to carry this whole game by herself, as the Scourge Runners are about to become useless. Though for Falcon, he does have some skirmish cavalry. It's the half-health Golden Knight. I don't know what Marathi's going to do about a half-health Golden Knight. I was going to say, skirmish cav isn't that useful against her. She's teeny tiny, and then if she engages in melee, they're going to get obstructed, but still having a half-health Golden Knight, still having some spears, and of course a giant Dragon Lord. Marathi is actually a better duelist than the Dragon Lord, but it just has HP advantage, and especially with Soul Stealer, it has an uber HP advantage. Marathi trying to spam out Melkoths, whittle down those Cold Knights before she has to commit to melee. Scourge Runner Chariots and Dark Riders trying to run down anything they can of Falcon's. And Falcon's not too worried. He seems to just be taking it slow. He only has 1 skirmish cav. No, he has 2. 2 left online. Marathi's Melkoth spam has been pretty detrimental to his multi-entity forces, which could get concerning. I still don't know what takes out the dragon, but Marathi is making this a more even fight over time on the ground. Just a bunch of stuff taking damage. Scourge Runner Chariots trying to charge through Dread Spears that are now unbraced, but the Cold Knights get to wrap them up, so Scourge Runner is going to take a lot of damage. Marathi thinking about committing to the fight now, opts against it, and is instead just going to try and 1v1 the Dragon Lord with her superior stats. 38-46 versus 52-40, and she has bonus versus large, so she will get hits more often, but her weapon strength is a big disadvantage. Only 340 versus 520 at the Giant Dragon. Dragon lands in, providing terror and, of course, just charge damage, and now you can see Loopy is officially out of forces besides Marathi. Marathi is the only damage left. Jumps onto the skirmish cav so they can't shoot at him from a distance, but that does mean Falcon's Lord is going to be able to get a rear charge onto Marathi, mitigating some of the stat debuffs if it has a charge bonus. Should turn, should get a good hit, and I think 2 more hits on Marathi is probably going to cause army losses. So I'll check out her HP and wait for those hits. There's 1. Let's see how close I was to right. Second hit. Second hit. There's the second hit. Is it army losses? It is! He's a genius! He knows when army losses is coming down to the single attack. You know why? Because I'm fucking great. Good game from Falcon. Slow and controlled. Loopy did more damage from a disadvantaged state than I thought he would. The result was the same, like Falcon won, but I thought at a certain point Loopy was doomed, and then he killed almost everything besides the Dragon Lord, and I was like, oh, okay, you did better. Marathi with 2,400 value. Very nice. Value overall. The Melkoth spam, the Soul Stealers were good. His Cold Knights did okay. Scourge Runner Chariots did very well. Treeman and Skaven are cute. Killed by propaganda. I think you're going to be killed by some Skaven, brother. All right, Falcon getting the 1 win for the Netherlands, keeping their honor intact. He gets a little heart. Wee. That kind of looks like a tulip, actually. He's gonna get a tulip. Little flower. GG's, brother. Go to the challenge. Update Netherlands versus France. We have France. France. Netherlands. France secures themselves a spot in the semifinals. I'm going to take a break. So if Lich's stream is scheduled, I'm going to redirect you all there. He's supposed to start in like a couple minutes. So Lich will stream his tournament. I'll go have some lunch and hang out. And then I'll hop back on to cast VM versus the Slavic Mushrooms I didn't name them that. They named themselves that. And then Visegrad versus USA 4. I did get those replays from Scar and Brand, so we have those. Sound good? So we'll do all the quarterfinals today. Just gonna take a little break between those streams. So let's see if we can find Tactical Lich's stuff in here. Stream settings. Edit, customization, redirect, Tactical Lich. Wednesday Faction Wars, that one coming up. Popped right up. 12:05, so yeah, we'll throw you guys there. Netherlands win? No, it was 4-1 to France. But unless you mean they won the game. They won that one game, yeah. Yeah. All right, go say hi to Lich. He'll be starting up in a couple minutes if you need more Total War content. If not, see you later this afternoon. And goodbye. And goodbye. Like and subscribe and all that bullshit.